What is the absolute best advice I could give someone about investing who just graduated? And what would I have done back when I just graduated? Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, a long time ago, when I graduated, I'm not going to tell you the stories of my yesteryear. However, I am going to just give you the straight advice, perhaps the top 3 things I wish I would have known and wish I would have done back when I did graduate either high school or college, because they're really the same things that I wish I would have done. But I'll tell you this. The first thing is start now. Like right now. I don't care if you graduated high school at 16, 17, or 18, or if you are in college and you just graduated at 22, 23, 24, whatever age people be graduating nowadays. Right now is the time because, one, you have the apps and opportunity that you have now that weren't really available back then. So you can invest on Cash App. Okay, I have an entire video on how you can do that, and there's a card floating somewhere on how you can do exactly that. But whatever means and resources that you have, you just started the job, especially if you graduated college, this is your opportunity to open that 401k and start right now. Your biggest asset is time. And the earlier you start, the quicker that money is going to grow, the faster you're going to get to that first 100,000. I'm telling you from experience, the faster you get to that 100,000, the more fun it is going to become to start investing. And it's going to start slow. It's not going to start like it's some exciting journey. But once you hit, depending on when you start, once you hit 27, 28 or so, you really start to see momentum, and then it really starts to get fun, and then you're going to start to see the fruits of your labor. If you start later, that time, it's still going to take that same amount of time, and you're not going to catch up. It's going to be very, very difficult to catch up. So you might as well start now, get the ball rolling, and that is going to be the most important thing. I hear people all the time, and this really happened several years ago for me, but people say, hey, I don't want to wait 10 or 15 years to save and invest and do all this stuff. I'm going to tell you now, the time is going to pass anyway. Okay? Whether you want to or not, the time is going to pass anyway. When you were in school, whether it was, again, high school, college, whatever, when you sat in class and I don't want to wait 4 years to graduate, take these tests, whatever, the time was going to pass anyway. Here you are. Okay? Whether you thought it was going to be a long time or not, the time passed. And here you are. So the same thing is going to happen with investing. So the next 10 years, next 15 years is going to pass. So it's better for you to start now and say, hey, I've invested this entire time. My money has been growing the entire time, versus, oh, wait a minute, I wish I'd invested way back then. Okay, you're not going to be able to get that time and opportunity back. So start right now. I just gave you like 3 minutes that you could have opened an investing account while I was talking. Okay, you thought I was playing. I was not playing. Start right now. Okay. Now, the next thing is, especially for people in this phase of life, in this graduation phase, is to avoid the distractions of new, shiny investment stuff. Okay, and this happened to me myself. And it happens. It comes in cycles. It comes in waves, where there's a tried and true, there's a tried and true, I've been yelling at the NBA playoffs. There's a tried and true method when it comes to investing, okay? That is index funds. It's boring, it's boring, it's boring. I'm telling you now, investing in index funds is boring, but it works, okay? It works. Go with what works, okay? I would argue that like 90% of your money should be in index funds. Now, the other 10% you go have fun with if you want to. Okay, have fun with some of your money when it comes to investing. You can go do the fun and sexy stuff with your portfolio with just a tiny piece of it. Okay, but 90%, I would argue, you can do 100%, but 90% should be in index funds. If you don't know what index funds are, I have videos on the channel, but we talking now. Okay, so 90% of your money should be in index funds. Index funds track the entire stock market. So every stock you can think of packaged into one thing. That is what an index fund, the basic definition of an index fund is. If you type in SPY into any of your investing app, that's going to be one example of what an index fund is. But that is where a good chunk, a very, very good chunk of your money should be. Something very similar to that. Well, as boring as that is, that is going to be the thing that really is going to expand your wealth over time. Now, whether it's this year or next year or the year after or 5 years from now, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that pops up that's going to be the next big thing that your friends are gonna tell you in the DMs, or people are gonna tell you is gonna make you all this money. Back in my day, right, it was meme stocks at one point in time. It was the metaverse at one point in time. It was AI stocks, and AI stocks did make some money. Okay, that was one. It was, I mean, there have been so many all the time. It was cannabis stocks at one point in time. Like it's always something every 2 years or so where people just shift their focus and completely forget about, and like just go so fervently into something and forget the basics. And they go that way, and 90% of them lose money and then come back and it's already too late. So stay the path. 90% of your money, focus on those index funds. If you want to go do some of the other stuff, just take small bits and go there with that. Okay, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's a tiny, tiny sliver of your money. Crypto was another one, another piece at one point in time where 2017, right, it went up, it fell. 2019 through 2021 went up and it failed, right? We'll see what happens here over the next 3 to 4 years. So be very, very careful around those new trends and those new things, because they seem very cool. People come up with all these new terms. They feel like experts because they're using all these things where they're like, hey, I'm a new person. I know all these things. I am on the cutting edge. And they end up like Sam Bankman-Fried, where they end up being a fraud the entire time. Okay? This happens often. Every 3 to 5 years it happens. Okay? So be very careful around that and just stay on the path. Stay on the path of the boring index fund. Okay? And just stay on that. Okay? That is where you need to be, and just stay away from the distractions. The next thing I'll say when it comes to what you absolutely should be focused on, and probably one of the best things that you should do, is not stopping. Okay, so when it comes to investing, what we tend to do when things get bad, when the market starts to fall, especially as you get older, people will stop investing. This happened a lot, especially in 2020. As a former financial advisor, I saw people like, oh my God, stock market is falling. Let me pull back. Let me not invest. I'm not going to invest in my index fund. I'm actually going to pull my money out of the stock market and protect myself and just hold everything close. That was the absolute worst thing that they could have done, because number one, at the end of 2020, the stock market was actually up. That's number one. Stock market was actually up. And when they pulled out of the stock market, they missed when the stock market went up. They got back in the stock market and missed all of those gains. And you're not going to be able to time when the stock market is going to go up. Also, usually when you invest when the market is down, especially if you're investing in index funds, you're actually helping yourself, because you are doing the buy low part of the whole buy low, sell high. So that is the best thing that you can do, because you are starting when you are young, because you are starting right now. It's like the third or fourth time I told you, right? Because you are starting at this point in time, you are going to be better off. So you have time for the market to dip low. My kids, again, when I'm talking about starting very early, the time I'm doing this video, my kids are 6 and 3. They started very, very, very early. Well, I'm practicing what I'm preaching, okay? I didn't get to start until I was 22, okay? So, yeah, when I graduated college, I didn't get started until I was 22. I wanted to make sure that my kids didn't wonder, like, what if, right? What if dad did this? What if dad invested in Apple when he was born or something like that? Because I realized when I was 22, that my parents put away $150 or $200 a month in Apple. I could have had $800,000 by the time I graduated college. Well, I wanted to make sure my kids didn't have to wonder what would have happened if dad invested that same amount of money when they were born. So I want to make sure that they had that. This is your opportunity at whatever age you are right now to make sure that you don't have to wonder, well, what if I started investing when I graduated high school? What if I started investing when I graduated college? So that at 45, you won't have to sit around and be like, I wish I would have started doing X, Y, and Z and started getting my stuff together back then, right? Because I guarantee you there's somebody who's 45 in your life right now that's just starting their journey, okay? And they wish they would have started 20 years ago. And that's not shade towards them, right? Stuff happened. But you have the opportunity to do that right now, regardless of what your budget is. $20 a week goes a long way over time. $100 a month goes a long way over a long time. Now, I may not cut it at 50, right? But when I started, I only started with $100 a month. And as I grew, as my salary grew, that is when I started to increase those numbers. And that's how I got to where I was, or where I am today. I didn't start out with a whole bunch. You don't have to start out with a whole bunch. Those tiny amounts do absolutely add up. And the great thing is, when you start out young with small amounts, that is what absolutely adds up. But the only thing that matters is if you start now. Because none of this other stuff matters. Index funds don't matter. Focusing on index funds don't matter. None of that don't matter if you don't start now. So that is the major key at the end of the day. Now, I did mention some other things in terms of other mistakes and things you absolutely want to avoid when it comes to investing, especially as a beginner. If you want to know what those tips and tricks are, then you want to check out this video right here.